webinar series in collaboration with the Indonesian Heritage Society and in support for Indonesian artisans, especially during the difficult times of this global pandemic. We thank you for making the time to join us this afternoon. And as is the usual tradition, we ask our partner from the Heritage Society to do our welcome remarks. This afternoon, we have with us Simran, who is born and raised in Jakarta. She is Indonesian of Indian descent, in Indian ethnicity. She is a volunteer at heart, photographer by passion, and at present entrepreneur of Seni Home, Indonesian Heritage Society volunteer museum guide, writer, copy editor, and creative website designer by profession. She has been a member of the Indonesian Heritage Society for 8 years and has enjoyed being the IT co-chair for this diverse and rich organization. So without further ado, I welcome Simran to provide the welcome. Thank you, Simran.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you so much. So thank you for joining us today. We had an enlightening session yesterday on Batik, and today it will be another interesting session as we move from philosophy of Batik to the next generation. Indonesian Heritage Society is run by committed and dedicated volunteers to enrich the organization and learn more about Indonesia's cultural heritage. As a museum guide and volunteer of this wonderful society, I have made lifelong friends and also learned to work together with diverse cultures. We hope to welcome you and others to join our organization and volunteer with us. Thank you, and hope we can learn and form a synergy together in today's session. Thank you, Christy. Over to you, back to you again.
Thank you to Simran for welcoming everybody to our webinar series. I also take this time now to invite Meet the Makers founder, Ms. Nia Fliam, to share with us an introduction about what this webinar series is all about. Over to you, Nia.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for joining Meet the Makers, Kaleidoscope Changing Patterns webinar series. Thank you to the Indonesian Heritage Society in joining us in this initiative to support the continuing traditions of Indonesian culture, particularly in the field of craft as art. The global pandemic has made annual fairs of Meet the Makers impossible for this year, and many artisans are struggling because of the impact this has had on their craft. We hope that with these webinars, we can contribute to the lives and livelihoods of our partner artisans by continuing to honor their work through these talks. Please know that 100% of your contribution will go directly to the artisans themselves. We hope you enjoy the webinar today, as this is a continuing webinar on Batik, and hopefully it will enlighten you even further on the aspects of Indonesian Batik and tie-dye. We are still learning and making improvements in our abilities with the webinar, so please bear with us. I turn over to Christy, who will explain a few guidelines about the webinar, and she will also introduce our moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Nia. And I take this time to introduce our moderator, who has been working very hard. This is his second day on the job. Yesterday was his first, doing Batik philosophy. So once again, Tony Sugiarta is our moderator for today. He is the founder of aNerd Gallery, a Singapore-based art platform specializing in textile arts with a focus in Indonesian batik and tenun. In 2016, this ex-pharmaceutical research scientist embarked on a batik discovery journey across Indonesia. He was inspired by the rich heritage and human stories that he saw, and the intersection especially between science and art. He then set up aNerd Gallery to connect artisans, communities, professionals, and all those interested to learn about culture, technology, and history. So we're very happy to have Tony on board as a moderator again this afternoon. So I turn it over to you, Tony. Thank you and good luck.
All right, thank you, Christy. And welcome back to everyone who joined us yesterday, and welcome to those who just joined today to continue the conversation about batik. So batik, as we all know, the dye resist technique using hot wax is often associated with an old and ancient technique that is either practiced by older artisans or used and appreciated by the generation before us, our parents, our grandparents, and so on. But in today's panel, Batik Next Generation, we are very fortunate to have Nuri Ningsih Hidayati and Caroline Rika Winata, two young Meet the Makers artists whose batik and tie-dye works marries the idealism of tradition and contemporary expressions into the now. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our first panelist, Nuri Ningsih Hidayati. Nuri is the founder of Marenggo Studio. She learned batik from her mother, and while in college, started teaching women in rural areas about textiles. After graduation from Textile Division of Craft Faculty of Indonesia Institute of Arts, Nuri collaborates with women in Karongan, Jogotirto Berbah in Yogyakarta on the development of batik and tie-dye with natural dyes. Through her village works, she fell in love with the process of innovating motifs and natural dye experiments. In 2017, because of her efforts, Nuri was chosen to follow the Australia Awards program. And in 2018, she received Entrepreneurship Award from Citibank. And before I invite Nuri to unmute and start her presentation, we would like to show a short video about Nuri and Marenggo Studio.
Halo, perkenalkan nama saya Nuri Ningsih Hidayati, biasa dipanggil Nuri. Umur saya 28 tahun. Saya adalah salah satu pembuat batik dari Sleman, Yogyakarta. Batik itu awalnya dibuat sebagai salah satu tugas akhir kuliah saya di jurusan Kriya Tekstil, Fakultas Seni Rupa, Institut Seni Indonesia Yogyakarta. Yogyakarta, kota yang banyak melahirkan pemuda-pemudi yang kreatif, pemuda yang mempunyai semangat untuk menjaga warisan budaya batik dan peduli akan lingkungan sekitar. Maka dari itu, pada 15 Maret 2015 saya ciptakanlah Marenggo. Perjalanan saya merintis Marenggo juga dipengaruhi oleh ibu saya yang suka membatik. Saya yang masih kecil saat itu tertarik membatik dan mulai mempelajari beragam motif untuk memperkaya desain agar lebih modern. Marenggo adalah salah satu brand batik yang fokus pada pewarna alami. Mempunyai visi pelestarian keindahan alam dengan penerapannya pada budaya batik dan tritik. Tritik adalah salah satu pengolahan kain dengan teknik jahitan atau jelujuran, atau biasa disebut celup ikat. Sedangkan di Kalimantan dikenal dengan istilah sasirangan. Inspirasi kami melihat pengembangan pewarna alami oleh leluhur kita dalam melanjutkan kecintaan terhadap warisan. Detail yang indah yang dibuat dengan bermitra pada pengrajin yang terus kami bina. Semua kerja hati kami buat lokal dengan kualitas global. Aspek unik dari Marenggo adalah dalam mendidik batik dengan pewarna alami di lingkungan desa dengan memberdayakan perempuan dan orang muda sebagai generasi baru. Bersama Marenggo, saya mendapat penghargaan, salah satunya sebagai pemuda berkarya dari Yayasan Batik Indonesia pada tahun 2014. Pada tahun 2017, mendapatkan Australia Awards dan tahun 2018 mendapatkan Awards Micro Entrepreneur dari Citibank. Sekarang kita berada pada masa yang sulit. Dampak adanya pandemik ini menjadi perekonomian lemah, sehingga imbasnya terjadi pada produk yang kami jual. Berkurangnya pembelian mengakibatkan produksi berkurang dan berefek pada pengrajin. Harapannya dengan produk yang kami jual bisa menjadi sumber dana untuk membuat produk baru dengan sistem strategi yang lebih baik demi melanjutkan warisan budaya ini.
All right, thank you, Mbak Nuri. You may unmute the microphone. Mbak Nuri, you may start the presentation.
Oke. Yes, selamat siang semuanya. Ya, perkenalkan, nama saya Nuri. Saya selaku founder dari Marenggo. Di sini saya akan berbagi tentang Marenggo, the next generation. Jadi saya akan bercerita tentang pesona batik dan tritik di Marenggo. Jadi saya aktif di Marenggo itu untuk eksplorasi desain, warna, dan kegiatan saya terus mengedukasi batik.
Activities to keep educating about batik in Marenggo. And one of the things that I'm doing right now, I am in Sukabumi to train tritik jumputan in Sukabumi. So right now, I am in the Rumah Kreatif Milenial, and that is with the Police Department of Sukabumi, and I am training people in prison right now so that they can have skills and to raise their awareness that there are many activities that are useful that will be able to change their lives. And then my journey for the learning of natural colors and how I became interested in exploring natural colors, that happened since I was in college. And back then I participated in design competitions and they were all using natural colors. And so I became interested in learning that. And I found a book about Babonnya Batik, and it was mentioned in that book that back then, in the olden days, natural colors were obtained from the forests. And here I became interested, and I accepted the challenge to develop natural colors in my hometown using materials that are available there. And so from here, I explored using materials from wood and from leaves and seeds. There's a kayu tinggi, kayu tegeran, and they produce really beautiful colors, I believe, and colors, especially the indigo blue. After 2015, I graduated. I continued developing the results of my exploration, how they can be practiced, how they can be applied to economical products. And so in 2015, I tried to launch Marenggo products using social media. And so after that, the coloring process in Marenggo, you can see in this picture here, that is a process using indigo colors. But before that process, I explored what happens after the batik is waxed. What happens if we paint batik using a brush? What can we do so that it's not just light blue and dark blue in just one color, but how can they be diverse colors? And so I tried using coletan technique, which is, you can see in the bottom left corner, that's coletan. How we process the colors is at least 4 times dipping it in so that they can last longer, color fast. And so the first time I tried that process of coletan, I was really scared. Is it going to wash away? Because usually with natural colors, there's no coletan. And so I started to try new techniques. What can I do so that they can be really colorful and last long? And so after that, the dipping of the colors, I was using indigo, and we trained, or we are doing an MOU with children from the disability school so that disabled students can learn natural color in Marenggo. And so after they finish doing their internships, they can continue being employed in Marenggo. And so there's a video about that. After that, in 2015, I tried to discover ways to market the products, and it turns out that when I participated in the curation of Meet the Makers in 2015, and there I was invited to participate in a exhibition in Jakarta, and that was the first that I participated in. And it turns out that there was interest in our products. There's a lot of demand for that. And this was one of my final assignments that was now collected by Ibu Jennifer from the MTM exhibition. Now, this is one of the products that has been produced by Marenggo. This is inspired by one of the plants. And I expressed that the image of that plant into this batik motif, and it has the meaning of how we can become useful for the people around us, and that is expressed in the climbing plant. And we also put a fence to protect the plant so that it will continue on living. And so this motif was made using the indigo and with the coletan technique applied by the brush. And besides blue, we also make black backgrounds using natural colors. As you can see in this picture, this workshop in Jakarta. And after that, besides making batik, we are also inspired to apply batik motifs to past techniques, ancient techniques. And by that I mean they're techniques that are long left behind. And there's this technique called tritik. And in Marenggo, we make tritik and batik. And so tritik is it's a resist technique using rope or threads. So they are being sewed one by one. And in Indonesia, this technique has 2 names. In Jawa, it's called tritik, and in Kalimantan, it's called sasirangan. And here I'm inspired because I read books that say that this technique has historical value that goes a long way back. And this used to be a technique for the aristocrats, and the motifs were also special for the aristocrats. And it was differentiated which ones for aristocrats and which one for commoners. And for the top world, there's like clouds and stars motifs. And for commoners, the motifs are more like waves and kangkung and spinach. And I became interested in that, how tritik can be developed from Indonesian traditional, can be developed into something innovative, new motifs. This is the tritik process. And the first, you have to draw it first. And after that, you tritik it, and that means you sew it one by one. And after I learned through experiments how to sew the distance between one stitch and the next. It also influences the results of the tritik. If it's too wide apart, then it's not good. But if it's small and it's tidy, it's nice and detailed, then you will get a good result. And it becomes beautiful. And after it becomes stitched, you pull it apart and, you pull it out. And this is one process. You can see in the video here, this is the detailed process of tritik. And this is one of the ladies who practices tritik in Bokom or Klaten. So in Marenggo, we train them and we empower the women there in my hometown and also in Klaten and Bogum, and that's where my mother came from. The process of stitching one by one, the motif, and when you pull, when it is pulled, even though I am still young, I would like to continue practicing this technique. And this is the process. After that, for the colors, for tritik, we already make the colors based on the procedures, the standard procedures that we've done, but one by one, we've determined them one by one. And so for the color yellow, we already have the standard procedure, and also for green, for orange, for brown, and other colors. This is one of the pictures, and this is a group. This is a group in Jakarta and also one in Klaten and Bokom Klaten. And this is one of the efforts, my efforts to make tritik acceptable to the market. And you can see this video introducing tritik in fashion shows. And with tritik, the motifs, these are batik motifs. This is Javanese tritik, and there you can see many batik motifs such as kawung, parang, truntum, sidomukti, wahyu temurung. And this is one of the exhibitions in 2019. Just in December, we introduced these motifs and techniques to Alun-Alun Indonesia, the department store. And this is one of the fashion shows where it was a collaboration with fashion designers in Jakarta. This is Ibu Indira with her brand Jarit. And so when these were launched, it was the Jarit X Marenggo collaboration line. This was just the past collaboration in December, and these round motifs in tritik, it has the meaning, it conveys the meaning of life, or in Sulawesi, it is inspired by the sun. And then this is what I mean by tritik Jawa. Why do I make tritik? Is because the motifs of Javanese tritik has motifs like truntum that has the meaning of spring, love in spring, and then wahyu temurun, so that one always has prosperity, and then kawung and parang, and that is a symbol of deep love and a strong spirit. And these motifs are the motifs that I like, and that's why I apply them in tritik technique. And this is using blue from indigo, and this is parang and kawung motif. And then I am exploring colors other than blue. In Marenggo, we also make peach using this parang kawung motif. After that, we also make yellow, and this is a favorite color, very popular color in Marenggo, and we use wood and fruit peel. And this combination of bark and fruit peel becomes like this. And this is tritik parang bintang. It is gray. and it is popular as well. And it uses the jola with fruit peel. Next, these are our scarf products. And other than kain and clothes, we also have scarves like these. Batik and tritik became a harmony in Marenggo, and even though I am young, but I would like to develop traditional textiles with natural colors so that there will continue to be interest in these textiles and that a lot of people come to use it. So thank you for your kind attention from me. So that's all for my presentation today.
Yes, thank you, Mbak Nuri, for sharing that, for your effort and your in exploring natural dyes and putting old techniques into new contemporary context. And now I would like to introduce to you our next panelist. So with Mbak Nuri today, we have Caroline Rika Winata. As a tie-dye and batik artist, Rika has participated in several exhibitions and fashion shows and has designed contemporary dance costumes since her graduation from Indonesia Institute of Arts, majoring in textiles. Among these exhibitions are Intimate Distance at National Gallery Jakarta, the 6th Asian Fiber Arts Exhibition in Bentara Budaya Jakarta, the Arafura Craft Indonesia-Australia Exchange Exhibition at the MAGNT Darwin, Australia. Rika does research regarding the idiom of mass cultures, such as using train tickets, used bras, etc. And this idiom helps in communicating messages through her artworks. In 2006, Rika launched her brand Wiru as a brand of apparel products from her experiments in tie-dye and batik, while working with local women community. Similarly, we would like to show a short video about Rika and her studio Wiru.
Saya Caroline Rika Winata, saya seniman dan desainer tekstil, saya tinggal di Yogyakarta. Saya dulu kuliah di kampus ISI, angkatan 95, ngambil jurusan kriya tekstil. Kenapa saya mengambil kriya tekstil? Sebenarnya saya dulu pengen ngambil fashion designer, tapi terus sama orang tua saya nggak boleh. Karena mungkin harus sekolah dulu, terus jadi saya ngambil jurusan kriya tekstil. Dan ternyata saya malah jatuh cinta dengan tekstil, dengan kain-kain, dan saya membuat karya-karya dari tekstil. Saya jatuh cinta pada teknik celup ikat dan juga makna pada motif batik, salah satunya adalah motif teruntum. Motif yang melambangkan kebangkitan cinta ini diciptakan oleh Kanjeng Ratu Kencana. Karena motif inilah sang ratu berhasil membangkitkan kembali cinta sang raja yang sempat meredup. Teruntum adalah sebuah cinta yang tumbuh kembali. Cinta memang selalu menjadi inspirasi bagi insan seni dari segala zaman. Dan rasa cinta terhadap motif batik, terhadap kain-kain tradisional Indonesia yang menjadikan saya berinovasi dalam karya saya. Awalnya saya membuat karya seni dari tekstil. Kemudian pada sekitar tahun 2004, saya membuat produk bersama teman saya. Tetapi sekitar tahun 2006 kami terus berpisah. Dan akhirnya pada tahun 2006 akhir, saya membuat satu label yang bernama Wiru. Jadi itu label dengan produk-produk dari celup ikat dan juga batik. Kenapa saya tertarik dengan celup ikat, dengan tie-dye? Karena saya senang bereksperimen dengan kain-kain tersebut. Jadi sepertinya tuh kayak sesuatu yang sangat menyenangkan sekali. Misalnya saya mencoba melipat, terus membuat jumputan, dan saya juga senang dengan warna. Saya sangat tertarik dengan warna dan saya senang mengkombinasi warna-warna dan juga bereksperimen dengan berbagai warna dan juga dengan berbagai kain.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to invite Mbak Rika to unmute and start the presentation.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Caroline Rika. People usually call me Rika. I'm artist and textile designer live in Yogyakarta. Today I want to presentation about Turuntum, a story of love and hope. It's about my work and use Turuntum motif and also about my work of tie-dye. Okay, let's start. 20 years ago,
Jadi sekitar 20 tahun yang lalu, saya pernah mempunyai impian
among young people. At that time, Indonesian traditional textile didn't get enough attention from young people in urban areas and were not generally used to be more casual or everyday clothing. I fell in love with tie-dye techniques and also the meaning of batik motifs, one of which was the truntu motif. This motif inspired my artworks. I interpreted the truntu motif as a symbol of love. I express my work through the meaning of the general motif to convey the message. I often make bird shapes origami from tuntum batik cloth as a symbol of love and hope. Bird origami is a symbol of hope. This is one of my work. The title is My Journey. It's using a used batik. I made it in 2003. So this about like I would heard that if you can make 1,000 birds, your wish will come true. So, and also I also heard that batik truntum is symbolize an awakening love. So I made these origami birds from used batik truntum with many best wishes for love in the world. I share the birds to my friends and people to reminding love is the answer for the world. So I make some pieces of these birds. Okay. And this is my other work. The title is Truntum, A New Hope. The medium is batik on cotton, chule, and wire. Size is variable. It's an installation work. I made it in 2009. This work is about happiness of a new hope in life. So the Truntu motif was created by Kanjeng Ratu Kencana, Impress Sunan Paku Buwono III, means awakening of love. She created this motif as a symbol of sincere love that is unconditional, eternal, and growing, increasingly fertile tumaruntum. Because of its meaning, truntum pattern clothes is usually worn by parents of the bride and groom on the wedding day. The hope is that this love of tumaruntum will descend on the bride and groom. Sometimes it also means that parents are obligated to guide the bride and groom to enter a new life. I take this from Wikipedia. This work is maybe my feeling when I just got married and then like I have a new life, a new hope for life, and this is like I express my feeling, my happiness in this work. Okay. Yeah, this is the detail of the work. So I make a truntum motif by stem and then make it as a bird, origami bird, call it. Oh, and also I also use the truntum batik symbols to my other work. This is the title is penghormatan pada ikan teri, is like we like apa ya? We salutation to the fish, the small fish. Small fish. I forget the name. This is print on black. Usually, actually, this is I make it the real one with the fabric. After I take a picture of this and then I print it on the plate. In 2011, this is was exhibit in Cemerti Art House. From the exhibition is Animal. The title is Animal. So it's an exhibition about animal in the artwork. So this is my work in 2011. This is my work. This is my design. So in addition to work that redefine the motif of the truntum as a symbol of love and hope, I was also inspired to use the motif of the truntum as the antithesis or paradox of love and evil. This work as my anxiety about the phenomenon of violence that occurs in the name of religions. Yet religion teach us about love. I made a motif design that resembles a truntum motif, but when it looked closer, the stars are guns and bullets. I associate with these people who claim to be violent or spread hatred in the name of religion. The outside looks like glorifying love for God, but in fact, they are glorifying an evil. So the title of this design, this work is Sweet Darkness. It is print on paper in 2016. And also it's an exhibit. I make it bigger. Next slide. Yeah, this is a print of paper. So in the exhibition, I made it a big bird. So I always like symbolize the bird with a hope. So it's like this is like an antithesis. So I'm apa ya? Like worried like about the apa ya? The phenomena of the hate speech in Indonesia in the name of the religions. Okay, next. And in the last, this is my last work. I made it in the when this pandemic. The title is Hope and Love Max. I also use batik and non-medical masks. This is my So I remake the non-medical masks, the bird origami symbol hope to a good health, and the origami made from patch batik cloth is a trunto motif. So this is symbolize hope, love, also awakening love, and this it is exhibit online in artisan organization in Australia. Okay, next. Now, this is about what I work in tie-dye. I fell in love with a tie-dye technique when I was studying in ISI, an art university in Jogja. At that time, there were not many people who were interested in this technique because it was considered to be too easy, so it was less challenging. But for me, these traditional tie-dye techniques that I learned in college, such as jumputan, tritik, pelangi, and sasirangan, was very interesting because I found an exciting surprise to every process, very challenging to find out the result of the process. Okay, next please. This is my first artwork after I graduate. I make an exhibition to collaboration with Irene Angrifina in Jakarta in 2001. The title is Abracadabra, a simulacrum forest. So this work is our three-dimensional imagination, me and Ira. We make this collaboration because we were impressed with each other. I was impressed by Ira's imagination to sheet of fabric. Imagination made is alive. So I love tie-dye. I like experiment with some technique, fabric, and color. It is very amazing. I never found similar motif 100% in the same technique, and I always wonder what will be look like if I sew all my ratio. It will nice to work and compare each of my work. So this is like when I first time is falling in start to experiment with some motif with tie dye. So I cut a little piece from of the cloth, and then I try to fold it, to tie it, and then after I try to dye it. Okay. Next. Oh yeah, this work is batik. This color is motif kaung tabrak tubruk. This is silk with batik with natural dyes. This is I am interesting with kaung batik also. Kaung is a classical batik motif from Yogyakarta. In early 20th century, this motif was one of the principal forbidden motifs of the royal courts of Yogyakarta. Because its purity, this motif wasn't being part of ceplok pattern, other patterns which is similar with this one. The pattern was presenting the king with his 4 servants as also the symbol of mocopat, one of the Javanese philosophy. Nowadays, this motif doesn't being forbidden anymore. All the people can use this, but most of the young generation think that classical batik is old-fashioned. I designed this motif for young people. I think they need something dynamic and unique. I used the original shape to keep this purified form, and psychedelic motif was inspired me. It's like optical illusion art. These motifs flow as the shape of the body. Uh, a little change just make it cool and dynamic. So I was thinking that maybe someday we can use batik maybe for clubbing or for yeah. So make and in that time I'm thinking about that. And yeah, this is kaung design is more flowing, more dynamic, and yeah, by optic illusion. Okay, next. And this is the title, and this is aesthetic. This is also using kaung motif, and also I designed optic illusion kaung motif also, kaung design also, kaung motif also. So it symbolizes of for human character, and then I make it by triptych technique, Indonesian tie-dye technique. It's about a patient. Patient can be not right, but this is okay. It's like when you are young, sometimes you do some things, maybe this looks like not right, but I think it is okay. It's your process in your life. So I think it's process also is like apa ya? Actually, it's like it's process of the life. So okay. So next, you can see the detail of the product. This is the detail of the product. The work, the artwork, the fabric by triptych. Next, my other works using tie-dye is Unlimited Dress. It's interactive artwork. It is just tie-dye on cotton. I make it in 2002. So God creates humans in many shapes and sizes. Why do humans create clothes in just one size? So let's make our own dress. This is interactive work. People can make their own dress by their own size and taste. So I'm criticized about like maybe fashion industry who make some things people or women have like the same style, same size. So they cannot be their own self. So I think we have to be proud of ourselves and proud of our style. Yeah, we can make our own style. Next. So this is the one. Yeah. So everybody can beautiful with their style, with their size of. This is my other work. This is from using silk organza, using natural dyes and mirror. I make in 2005. The title is labyrinth. So I think I'm very like too many, yeah, it's too many things that like maybe make me stressful, something like that, and then I make this like maybe I cannot. It's the title is labyrinth. So my artwork is express my feeling or what I'm thinking. So yeah, I think this is labyrinth. Like yeah, I'm very confusing maybe at that time. Okay, next, and this is thank you. This is also tie dye and with embroidery also. On cotton. I make it in 2008. So it is, I think, tell about the what is this? The something in the womb, something like that. The yeah. And this is my so after that I in December 2006 I launched a fashion apparel brand Wiru. The products are my design and experiment in textile with batik and tie-dye. Studio Wiru make clothes, scarves, clothing, and accessories. We make modern and contemporary design with traditional technique. We also collaborate with fashion designer, interior labels who use tie-dye fabrics for their collection. Wiru Studio have vision to introduce traditional Indonesian textile techniques to wider public, empowering a woman, housewife, and disables. This is my 10-year journey of Wiru exhibition. Is the title is Tangan yang Mencintai Kain, Hand Who Loves the Clothes in Bentara Budaya Jakarta in 2017. So you can see this, and next some the artwork, the work in the exhibition. Okay. Oh yeah, I make apa sarung as from the fabric I make sarung. Ya, more apa ya modern sarung, but inspired from traditional sarung. So tangan yang mencintai kain dengan hati yang penuh warna. Hand who loves a clothes with a heart with full of color. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. It's a beautiful message, and we really appreciate you sharing with us. And we definitely gain a new understanding and a new expression of like the old motif, like the kawung and the truntum, and how you interpret it into a new expression.
Okay.
And now I would like to open up the floor for question and answers for the two panelists. I do have a question from the chat room. Okay, so the first set of questions I have from Dani Prakosa. Probably we can direct this to either panelists because both of them are working with this. So what are the difference between batik, tritik, and jumputan and shibori?
So the difference between these names, so some are called jumputan and others are called tritik and batik and shibori. So based on my experience and from reading many books, based on Nian S. Jumina's book, it says that jumputan is one of the techniques of tie-dye using string. And so it is tied using strings, whereas for tritik, the resist is using stitches, simple stitches, whereas batik, the technique resists using wax. And so that is the difference. And here in Indonesia, shibori, I'm sorry, I am training here, and so I had the opportunity to use this room This is the Rumah Kreatif Millennial, and the one giving me permission is from Sukabumi Kreatif community, and so please excuse the noises in the background. Continuing on, the difference with shibori. So shibori is from Japan, and so yes, we both have tie-dye techniques, but because we're from different countries, they have different names, and yeah, that's the difference. So it's okay if it's called, if we call it tritik or jumputan, it's still tie-dye. In shibori, it's also the same. It's also stitches and tie-dye. But with shibori, there are many names, and it's like orinui. They are all stitches. So the difference is only in the name, the way we call it in Indonesia and in Japan. That is what I've read.
Mbak Rika ini ada yang mau ditambahkan?
From me, I agree with Nuri, and as I know, it is what Nuri has explained. It is indeed only for shibori that it's just the difference in name, that shibori is the Japanese name for the same technique.
Yeah, and thank you for Ibu Dani Prakosa for the question just now. And I have another question from Ibu Dina Indra Safitri untuk for Mbak Rika.
Okay.
What does Wiru mean in the Picancara language of the indigenous Australians? It means beautiful.
I would like to answer this in Indonesian. So the first time I used the word wiru, it is from the fold of the sarung that is usually done in the Javanese way of wearing the kain. So in Jogja, when you wear a kabaya on top, then below you will use the long kain or jarik, and there are these folds that looks like a fan. It's called wiru, or here in Javanese, diwironi means to be folded like a fan. So because I do lots of folds, and I feel that it's an appropriate name for the kind of tie-dye that I'm doing. So I'm inspired by wiru from the Javanese way of wearing kain. So in the jarik kain, the long one, that's where the name come from.
A question from Kit Gun. Is there a historical relationship between shibori and tritik?
Oke, jadi shibori, tritik atau nama besarnya.
So shibori or tritik, or we can call it tie-dye, it is a technique that is the most, maybe before batik, we've invented tritik and jumputan first. And so it was a coloring technique that is very basic and quite ancient. And this technique is not just in Japan, not just in Indonesia. We can also find it, for example, in Africa and also in China. In Thailand, it exists as well. And so I believe, according to what I read, so where was it invented? Who invented it? It's still a mystery, but this technique can be found in many countries. And I think that this is one of the early techniques, a simple technique in coloring fabrics and giving motifs to fabric. So what is the relationship between shibori and tritik? I think when I read, it's difficult to determine because nobody knows who invented the technique. It's everywhere. And so it could be from trade, that this motif and this technique can be replicated all over the world. And making motifs using tie-dyes. Maybe if Nuri would like to add.
Ya, jadi seperti yang Mbak Rika sampaikan.
So as Rika explained, even when I meet Japanese people, if Japanese customers, they also call my work shibori. And because as Rika said, it's everywhere. I read that in China, there's also this technique. So I believe it's also because it's just got different names. In Indonesia, it used to be called tritik. And if in Japan it's called shibori, and Indonesia it was called tritik. And tritik is today, we rarely hear tritik. That's why a lot of people don't know what tritik is, but they know what shibori is. So the name, there's just so many names for the same technique. This is just like, this is a homework for us practitioners, and also for all of us to find out more, because I've also asked this question to a practitioner in Japan. What century did it start? And it's still a homework for us to find out about. It's still a mystery.
Yeah, we do have a few more minutes for a few more questions. I would like to find out more about the impact of COVID to your studios.
Yang jawab saya dulu mungkin
So
atau
I would like to answer first, Rika. The impact of this pandemic, firstly, indeed, a lot of bazaar and exhibitions are either canceled or postponed, and so automatically, see, the thing is, most of my Wiru's income is from bazaars and exhibitions, and so there's a drastic decrease in our income. And so our income is now from orders and from a little bit of online marketing. And usually we sell online. And also it's because right now I am working together with a lot of housewives, and these homemakers would have new things to do, and that is to take care of their children who are going to school from home now. And so we're losing a lot of time, and people are taking their work home so that they can be more flexible with their work, so they can work at home, and they can be with their children who are attending school from home. And that's what I feel mostly. Nuri, in our place, it is indeed right now, we have about 6 employees, and they're the ones that are doing the tie-dye. And income is decreasing drastically, but here we continue to innovate in design and to innovate in marketing it as well. And that's why we need to try we want to try marketing from our website, how we can get it up and running, and also from Instagram. And we are currently learning how to become more independent. Usually we really depend on offline exhibitions, and now with COVID, we need to try online marketing. So that's pretty much it.
Other questions regarding the technique. What are the challenges when doing batik on cotton versus other fabrics such as silk?
Yeah, okay.
Nuri would answer first. So the challenge of applying the tritik technique on silk, well, it's a slippery kind of fabric, and cotton, it's just better because it's not as slippery as silk. But there, despite silk being slippery and fine, but for natural colors, silk is, the colors are more color fast on silk, even though it's more difficult to apply it. But to see the results are just better. So we're also excited about making silk products. More difficult technique, but better results. Rika has nothing to add. It's just as Nuri said, but the difference is the application of tamping on cotton. It's the wax adheres better. Whereas on silk, we have to work faster, and the wax needs to be colder because if it's too hot, then it ruins the batik. It ruins the wax, the batik wax.
As the theme of discussion is batik, the next generation, what is the impact of tritic techniques to the future of batik?
So the future of the tritic technique with batik, so because I knew tritic using batik motifs, so I believe that in the future, after this journey, my journey and getting to know tritic and batik, in the future, the technique of tritic, I would like to continue developing this with traditional batik motifs or my original exploration as well. And so I would like to be more challenged to make new techniques. I would like to take on the challenge to make more valuable motifs. I'm actually still quite confused with the question. I mean, what does it mean, the influence to the future? Or maybe that's one of the, it's a creation, a creativity process. And so the influence, I don't think there is any significant impacts. I mean, batik will continue being batik. And when the motifs of batik is applied to tie-dye or tritik, I believe it's okay. I mean, both of them can continue to coexist. And yeah, I believe it's just like what Nuri said. So yeah, new innovations. Of course, there are going to be new innovations, but it's not like it's going to influence what is already there. It's just creativity.
The question is, are the youth today are loyal in wearing natural dyes, recalling the fact that making a natural dye or producing a cloth with natural dyes is very time consuming and taking a lot of efforts.
Ya, memang.
So indeed, recently when we were starting to work with natural colors, we did have doubts. What's it going to be like in the market? Is there going to be demand? Will a lot of people want it? And especially remembering that the process is very long, but after I tried making products and turns out that the demand is there, it's quite good actually, and there's always someone wanting it. And from there we started to become more consistent in practicing it, how we can make this desirable to young people. And I believe right now in these recent years, natural colors are becoming more abundant. Many people are starting to produce it, and it's starting to be used more by young people. And many young people are making it as well. And I believe that the market is also, when I tell this story more often, then I find that there is the market. I mean, sure, it is segmented. So the question is, do young batik makers find it difficult to keep using natural dyes?
Remembering that it's more effortful and it's time consuming. So how's the response of the younger artisans in using natural dye?
For example, based on the making of natural dyes, we have to dip it so many times and it's time consuming. Recently I tried, what can I do to make natural dyes more color fast, but they don't need to be dipped so many times. And so we tried to make it not requiring as many dips as it used to, but still color fast. And we are trying this in trainings with young people, how to pique their interest in developing natural dye colors based on experiments. And indeed, we have already several times done the dipping and seen the results. And we feel happy every time we see the results. And I hope that we can continue doing this. So that's about where we are at right now. I believe young people today, many young people today want to use natural dye products. For me, I sometimes use natural dyes. Sometimes I also use modern dyes, synthetic dyes. But I process the water from it, and I try to minimize the wastewater. And so I do use synthetic colors, but we try to minimize the waste. We don't, so we try to use it over and over again. For example, colors for the textiles, but hopefully in the future, we will use more natural dyes more consistently, hopefully. And I believe a lot of young people would like to experiment with this, even if it's more time consuming, takes longer time.
Now I would like to invite both speakers to give a final closing statement for today's discussion. Maybe we start with Mbak Rika untuk kata-kata untuk menyimpulkan diskusi hari ini.
So for today's discussion, I believe we need to always love our young people. We need to understand them and help them understand art and traditions of Indonesia. We need to instill pride in them, to make them proud to wear handmade products and things that are made wholeheartedly. And I believe that hopefully in the future, more young people will be interested in exploring the art of textiles in Indonesia. And I believe Indonesia is very rich in terms of textile traditions. So towards the future, I believe this is the beginning for us to continue developing traditional techniques. And I hope many young people will, despite these being traditional techniques, they will develop it with their new ways. I hope for innovation. I hope that this technique will continue to be practiced.
And in today's session, as we have heard, our panelists have not just displayed the respect and maturity in presenting the traditional philosophies of Batik in their practices, but they have also shown courage in pushing the boundaries of innovation and expressing them in a bold contemporary statement. Batik is a living culture that continues to evolve. And when given the chance, we are optimistic that our young artists and designers will bring Batik to a whole new level of greatness and appreciation. Yeah, I would like to invite Ms. Nia from Meet the Makers to give an update on the initiative.
We'd like to give you an update on our fundraising efforts and to let you know that the Ferrara ethical shop in Kemang will be featuring some of the products from the webinars, and we'll show you a little flyer about that before we sign off. And we also have received confirmation from the Amir Siddhartha auction platform that they will run an auction for us in the month of September. So we'll be sure to let you all know about that and stand by, where the participants in the webinar will be offering their masterpiece work in this last fundraising effort in this webinar series. We also have the product up on the social media in Maker's Instagram and also Facebook. So if you're interested in any of the products, you have the chance to see them and contact Meet the Makers. We're continuing to work on our website, funding from the Ford Foundation and from the American Embassy. And we hope to launch it in the very, very near future. The funds that we have raised so far from webinars and sales from social media and also sales from Parara is 33,993,000, of which we have already passed on a donation to the Savu Weavers, the Tawuni Rai Foundation of 4,750,000. And our recent webinars raised for Pakundan Ceramics, 1,635,000, and for the Molo weaving community in West Timor, 3,291,000. So thank you all so much for your kind support and understanding of the circumstances that the artisans and meet the makers community face during the pandemic. Okay, Tony, I give it back to you.
All right, thank you, Nia, for the wonderful updates. Now I would like to invite back Ms. Simran Nanwani, a representative from Indonesian Heritage Society, to give a closing remark.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Thank you, Nuri and Rika, for an inspiring session, taking us through the next generation. Definitely opened up a new way about batik. It was inspiring and refreshing to see how batik continues to evolve from generation to generation. I think it's important to portray the love of local culture and arts in order to preserve it. The artworks and creations transitioned us to connecting art with nature and love. Hopefully, your artworks can continue to bring hope and inspire everyone. Once again, thank you for sharing your passion and story. Back to you, Tony. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Simran. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And do join me in thanking all the crew behind the scene who is making sure that everything is running smoothly today. Thank you, Grace, for the translation. We apologize if there is anything, any technical difficulties that we have. So, yes, thank you so much for joining. Stay safe and see you guys soon.